Okay, lesson 7. In lesson 7, we're looking at the opposite of a number, and we're looking at simplifying more difficult notations. Got a little red dot here. Maybe you can see that. I'm going to get rid of it. And we'll start with the opposite of a number. Now, the opposite of a number, well, the opposite of a number, we're going to start at 0. 0 is our origin. And if we looked over at the number 3, and we wanted to pick the opposite of 3, well, the opposite of 3 is going to be what's equal distance away from 0 on the other side. So the opposite of 3 would have to be equal to negative 3. Let's make that dot bigger. 3 and negative 3 are opposites. Now, if I were to pick a number like negative 9, you tell me, what's the opposite of negative 9? Well, you should have said positive 9. Positive 9 is the opposite of negative 9. So we're working an equal distance away from 0. Now, knowing about opposites is very important when we're working with positive and negative numbers, especially with those negative numbers. Let's look at a problem. Let's say we had this. Let's say we're going to simplify negative positive 4 minus negative 5 plus 5 minus negative 3 plus negative 6. If we're going to simplify this, you can see we've got some parts in here that have double negatives. That's saying the opposite of the opposite. And the opposite of the opposite must be a positive. Okay? So, an opposite of an opposite, or a double negative, gives us a positive. What we're going to do is rewrite. We're going to rewrite this as simply as we possibly can. So, negative positive 4. That's saying the opposite of a positive. The opposite of a positive must be a negative. So we're going to get negative 4. Well, we've got thick pen today. That's all right. Negative 4. And then we've got, remember we're always adding, plus we've got the opposite of a negative, which must be a positive. A double negative always gives us a positive. Plus 5. Plus 5 more. We're using those parentheses that we've inserted mentally. Plus, we've got a double negative. That gives us a positive. Plus negative 6. Now this looks a lot like our last lesson where we were adding. This is just a little bit more difficult notation because we had those double negatives in here. So we'll go through and figure out what our answer is. We've got negative 4 plus 5. That must give us positive 1. We're going to do 2 steps at a time right here. We've got 5 plus 5. That must give us plus 10. And then we've got our leftover plus negative 6. We can go ahead and add 1 plus 10 must give us 11. 11 plus negative 6. 11 plus negative 6 is kind of like saying 11 minus 6. That must give us an answer of 5. We've got our answer of 5. We're all done with our first question where we need to simplify a more difficult notation. All right, now we look at this problem. We've got negative positive 4 minus negative 5 plus 5 minus negative 3 plus negative 6. Let's do the same thing. If we do the same thing on this problem, we're going to get negative 4. Double negative gives us a positive because the opposite of a negative is a positive. So plus 5 plus 5. And then we've got the opposite of a negative, double negative, that gives us a positive, plus 3 plus negative 6. Let's go ahead and solve. We'll work from the left to the right, although in addition it doesn't really matter because of that commutative property. We're going to get 1 plus, we've got 5 plus 3, that gives us 8. 1 plus 8 plus negative 6. And we'll solve from there. 1 plus 8, that must be 9. 9 plus negative 6 gives us our final answer. Say it, what's 9 plus negative 6? Must be 3. We've got our answer of 3, and we're all done with the more difficult notation problem. Our lesson practice is going to be on page 35. Make sure you've got your notes done. Come to class prepared next time I see you, and have a good afternoon.